What happens after dark in your yard that nobody sees? The ant highway mystery. Tonight, while you sleep, thousands of ants may pass through your yard with a level of coordination so precise that it almost seems impossible. Not random wandering, not simple instinct, a hidden transportation network, a highway. And if you knew what was really happening on those invisible roads after dark, you might never look at your yard the same way again. Most people assume that when the sun goes down, the world outside becomes quiet. The birds stop singing, the squirrels disappear, the neighborhood settles into silence. But silence can be deceptive, because beneath the darkness, along the edges of sidewalks, beneath blades of grass, under flower pots, and across patches of soil that seem completely ordinary, entire civilizations begin moving. Researchers have only recently discovered just how sophisticated some of these nighttime ant movements truly are. Individual ants may possess tiny brains, but together they create systems capable of solving problems, adapting to obstacles, sharing information, and finding the most efficient routes through constantly changing environments. What makes this remarkable is not simply that ants work together, it is that they do so without a leader. No traffic controller, no manager, no map. And yet somehow, every night, countless individuals leave the safety of their colony and enter a world filled with danger, uncertainty, and obstacles they have never encountered before. Few people understand how extraordinary that really is, because if you have ever felt lost, uncertain, or alone while trying to find your own path through life, then you already have something in common with the ants crossing your yard tonight. Each one moves forward without knowing exactly what lies ahead. Each one follows signals left behind by others. Each one becomes part of something larger than itself. And there is something quietly extraordinary about that. The next time you step outside after sunset, you may notice nothing unusual at all. The lawn looks the same, the garden looks the same, the darkness hides everything. But beneath that appearance, decisions are being made, routes are being chosen, messages are being exchanged. Entire colonies are responding to information flowing through invisible networks that have existed long before you noticed them. In many ways, your yard is less like a patch of land and more like a city that comes alive when nobody is watching. And here's the strangest part. Some of the ants traveling those nighttime highways may already know far more about your yard than you do. They know where food appeared yesterday. They know which routes are safe. They know which paths lead to danger. And as you'll discover later in this video, there is one surprising sign hidden in nearly every yard that reveals exactly how an ant colony sees its world. Once you notice it, you can never unsee it. But before we get there, we need to understand how these hidden highways begin in the first place, because the story starts with a single ant and a decision that changes everything. 1. The first ant notices. Most people imagine an ant colony as a perfectly organized machine, where every individual already knows exactly what to do. The reality is far more fascinating. Every highway begins with uncertainty. Somewhere beneath your yard, inside a colony hidden from view, a single worker ant emerges into the darkness. There is no detailed instruction waiting for her, no supervisor directing her movements, no guarantee that she will find anything useful. She simply begins walking. At first, her path appears random. She moves around pebbles, investigates cracks in the soil, pauses beneath leaves, and changes direction repeatedly. To a human observer, it would look aimless, but researchers have discovered that this wandering serves a critical purpose. Exploration allows ant colonies to gather information about an environment that is constantly changing. A fallen fruit, a dropped crumb, a newly opened flower, or even a dead insect can transform an ordinary patch of ground into a valuable resource overnight. That changes everything. Because the ant is not merely searching for food, she is searching for opportunity. There is something quietly extraordinary about that. Most people never realize how much of life depends on noticing what others overlook. Entire opportunities often exist in places everyone else walks past. Entire possibilities remain invisible until someone chooses to explore beyond familiar paths. The ant knows nothing about what she might discover, yet she moves forward anyway. Eventually, she encounters something valuable. Perhaps it is a seed hidden beneath grass. Perhaps it is a piece of food left behind after an outdoor meal. Whatever it is, the discovery triggers a remarkable response. The ant does not keep the information for herself. Instead, she begins laying down a chemical trail as she returns to the colony. Tiny droplets of pheromones mark the route she traveled. To us, these signals are invisible. To other ants, they are information, directions, possibility, hope. Few people understand how profound this behavior really is. In human terms, it would be like finding a path through a dense forest and leaving markers behind so others could follow safely. The first ant does not build the highway. She simply notices something worth sharing. And perhaps that is true for many things in life. The people who change communities, families, and friendships are not always the strongest or the smartest. Often, they are simply the first to notice something valuable and point others toward it. What you are watching is not instinct alone. It is a small creature exploring uncertainty and bringing knowledge back to those who depend on it. And every highway that appears in your yard tonight begins with that simple act of noticing. If you were to look at an ant highway from above, it might appear completely predetermined. The ants follow the trail. The trail leads to food. The colony survives. Simple, predictable, mechanical. But researchers have discovered something far more fascinating. Ant colonies make choices. Not conscious choices in the human sense, yet real choices nonetheless. When multiple routes exist, colonies often compare them. When circumstances change, they shift priorities. When opportunities appear, they redirect effort. When dangers emerge, they adapt. The future of the colony is not fixed. It is continuously shaped by decisions. That changes everything. Because the highway in your yard is not merely a record of where ants have been, it is evidence of what they have chosen. Every successful trail represents countless alternatives that were abandoned. Every active route reflects a collective decision about what matters most. There is something quietly extraordinary about that. Most people spend their lives searching for certainty. We want clear directions, guaranteed outcomes, perfect knowledge before taking the next step. The ants never have that luxury. They move forward with incomplete information. They adapt when circumstances change. They choose a direction and learn from the result. And somehow, through cooperation, they build thriving communities in a world filled with uncertainty. Perhaps that is why the ant highway feels unexpectedly familiar. Because beneath all the science, beneath all the fascinating behavior, there is a reflection of something deeply human. We are all navigating landscapes we cannot fully predict. We are all following paths shaped by memory, observation, learning, trust, and communication. We are all searching for places where we belong. Few people understand that the most remarkable thing about the ants in their yard is not their strength, organization, or efficiency. It is their connection. A single ant is vulnerable. A colony is resilient. A single ant can only see a tiny portion of the world. A colony can understand far more. And every night, while most of us sleep, thousands of individuals work together to create something larger than themselves. A shared purpose, a shared future, a shared home. That is the hidden truth behind the ant highway mystery. The trails crossing your yard are not random lines in the dirt. They are evidence that belonging has power, that cooperation creates intelligence, that connection creates resilience, and perhaps most importantly, they remind us that even the smallest individuals can become part of something extraordinary when they move together toward a common goal. The next time you step outside after dark, pause for a moment. Look carefully at the ground beneath your feet. Somewhere in the shadows, an invisible highway may already be alive with movement. Ants carrying food, ants carrying information, ants carrying the future of their colony. And whether they realize it or not, they are telling a story that humans have been living for thousands of years. A story about finding a path, a story about trust, a story about belonging. Before you go, I'd love to hear your story. Have you ever noticed a wild animal returning to the same place again and again, as if it had become part of your daily life? Maybe it was a bird, a squirrel, a rabbit, or even a line of ants that seemed to appear with remarkable consistency. What happened, and how did it make you feel? Share your experience in the comments below. And the next time you find yourself outside after sunset, take a closer look at the world most people never see. You might discover that your yard is far more alive, connected, and mysterious than you ever imagined. Until next time, thank you for watching and take care.